Welcome back. Just in case you're just joining us, this is still Global Morning here on Global Television, and my name is Godwin Sunday. I'm being joined right now to talk about the state of the nation by Abdulkadir Lukman, who is a public affairs and a social analyst. I will be talking about the state of Nigeria this morning. But first, you're welcome to Global Morning,
Thank you.
Abdulkadir Lukman.
Thank you very much.
All right, so first, Nigerians tend to enjoy a smooth ride, and all of a sudden the ride will now start reversing itself. For example, in terms of weather, we are still thinking about the weather is becoming the weather situation in Nigeria right now. We said it's called it heat wave. It's currently hot. I don't know for you, Abdul Kadir, but it's hot out there. And then we'll now see some form of, we have relief when we hear that by end of March, there's going to be some form of cold because the rains are coming and it's going to last till probably December or so. Heavy rains are coming, relief for us. But then we now move to River State, where the governors, Wike's drama, Governor Fubara, former governor of River State, Governor Wike, FCT minister, and that of Governor Fubara field has led also to order the suspension of this and of the National Assembly, or State House of Assembly. And the president also has also come out to speak. We've seen comments upon comments from people criticizing the action of the president. Now, it's as if we're moving from one heat to more heat in the country, from the weather heat to the political heat. I don't know which other heat we're going to be. It's going to be meted on us as a people. But then first, what do you make of the situation of the country as it stands right now?
Thank you very much. I think for the weather, this is something that has to do with nature. This is something that has to do with geography. It deals with the structural, physical, and even the natural surface of the earth. So it can be that the weather is very acclimatized to Nigerians, and it may be at times that the weather may not be acclimatized. We have no influence to decide the nature of the weather that we may have as a country. But as an individual or as a scientist, we can do little in that regard, not much, since it is something that has to do with a natural cause. And back to River State, what is happening in River State, to me, it is not something new as far as Nigerian democracy is concerned. It's just a political disagreement between two parties. I think the former governor of the state and the incumbent governor of the state, which has led to the president to declare a state of emergency in the state. And for the president of the federation to declare a state of emergency in the state, it is not something new. It is in line with the provision of the constitution. So the president has the right to declare a state of emergency in any state of the federation that has any issue against national security, which I think the case of River State is leading to national security, insecurity, since it has caused the damage of national asset. So the president must act, and he acted in line with his constitutional responsibility.
Lukman, we've seen more crisis in northeastern part of Nigeria. We've seen banditry. We've heard about banditry. We've heard about the Boko Haram insurgency, even in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And recently, we heard about the Lukarawa. I don't know if you've heard about them, that they were busy disrupting the peace of some communities in Sokoto and other parts of the north. But we've not heard of a state of emergency. The president only took this decision after about two pipelines were said to be vandalized by undisclosed group, and no group have come out to take responsibilities for this action. Don't you think, to an extent, that the action of the presidency was too hasty, even in invoking Section 305 of the Constitution?
To me, I don't think that what the president does has violated the provision of the Constitution. Like you earlier mentioned, Sokoto and some northern parts of the country, you can see the disagreement and the issues there. It is not as much as that of River State. Why I said so is that what is happening in River State is leading to national is causing insecurity, more insecurity in the state, which led to destruction of a national asset. For that of Sokoto and some other parts of the state, there was no destruction of national asset. And one of the major assets of Nigeria, I think, is oil, which is in River State, Delta State, and some other southern parts of the country. So the president has been sensitive that whatever happens to national assets of Nigeria will affect all the parts of Nigeria. But that of Sokoto, I think, is the problem is within the state, which the governor of the state and the federal government are putting hands together to address that concern. But that of a River State is a national matter that deserves national attention. And if the president did not address this concern, to serve as a national threat to all the federation, and we may not know where it may end. So it is better for the president to put on hold and declare a state of emergency in the state for both the governor, the legislature, state assemblies, and all the political structure in the state should be put on hold, pending on when situation is getting better.
State of emergency in most states is the prerogative of the executive, which is the president. But it has procedures. It's like Nigeria going for war with any country in the world. It has certain procedures that it must undergo before embarking on such wars. And part of this is the submitting of the proposed gazette, or the process is that the National House of Assembly needed to debate on that matter before the president can declare a state of emergency. But right now we're seeing a reverse of the case when the president yesterday came out to declare a state of emergency, and today the Nigerian Senate is sitting to deliberate upon the president's fiat. Is this not an aberration and a threat to our democratical ethics and ethos?
It is not a threat to democratic settings, but for every institution, for every corporate organization, for every corporate entity, which Nigerian government as a whole is a corporate body, it can sue and be sued. There are processes and procedures. But for national security, in the case of River State, there are things that necessary actions need to be taken before we now follow the due process. If this declaration of a state of emergency was not made yesterday by the president, only God knows what will have happened this morning. So in that regard of River State, necessary action needs to be taken, which has already been taken by the president. Then the procedure, we can now go by the procedure to the National Assembly to ensure that the president declaration is in line with the provision of the Constitution.
So in this regard, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So in this regard, the president needs to take necessary action to prevent the lives and properties of the people of the River State, not only that of River State, but for the entire federation, because from River, it may lead to any other neighboring community, and it may happen in any state of the federation. So this is like a signal to other states of federation who may have political disagreement or otherwise to trade with caution, and that nothing should happen to our national security. So what the president does is under his purview and is in line with his constitutional responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of Nigerians.
So you think this is not an aberration of the democratical principles? You think this would not set a wrong precedent for our nascent democracy?
To me, it has nothing to do with aberration, because if you may recall that during the administration of our President Olusegun Obasanjo, he declared a state of emergency in Plateau State and also in Ekiti State for national security. But in the case of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, people look at this declaration on a political aspect, not looking at the national and the security interests of this nation. People were talking about 2027 election. I say, we are far from 2027. What we should concentrate and talk about is good governance, and that is what the president is trying to do to all Nigerians.
All right, Lukman, the president of Nyesom Wike has been accused by all and sundry as being the brain behind some of the field that you have in River State, allegedly. So he has even come out on a press conference to affirm his stance on the political environment of Rivers State. But right now, we've seen the president suspending a duly elected governor, suspending a duly elected House of Assembly. But he's not talking anything about Nyesom Wike, neither we even getting suspension for him, like a lot of Nigerians will wish that the president could address this. Do you think at this point that the president is being afraid of addressing Wike's excesses for political gains?
The president is not afraid to address Wike for excessive political gain because Nyesom Wike is an employee of the president. He is the minister of the Federal Capital Territory. But in law, they said ignorance of the law does not avail an accused person. Also, an accused person is not guilty until he is found guilty of the law. So people may accuse Nyesom Wike, but there should be an evidence to say this allegation against or this accuse against Nyesom Wike is nothing but the truth. For the State Assembly and the governor, the State Assembly represents people from their respective constituents. You may recall that the State Assembly also raised some allegation against the governor of the state for financial misappropriation and abuse of the law. This is a mere allegation. The State Assembly must also prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the governor has gone beyond to do financial misappropriation and even to go against the provision of the law. So a mere accusation cannot be on someone that he has done something wrong. If he is found guilty by the law, then the president will now say, Nyesom Wike, you are going beyond your purview. But for now, people are just doing a mere accusation. An individual can just put an accusation on you until it is found guilty. You are found guilty before that accusation will become a reality. You cannot just put a mere accusation on the minister and expect the president to react. Although there is a political disagreement between the minister, who is the former governor of the state, and the current governor of the state, Sim Fubara. But what we are saying in essence is that we need to be subjective. The minister of FCT cannot be a minister in the Federal Capital Territory and still have power over the state. The affair of the state lies in the hands of the governor of the state, lies in the hands of the people of Rivers State. Absolute power corrupt, absolute. Absolute power corrupt. Absolute power corrupt, but power corrupt absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is that there must be check and balance between the executive arms of the government, the legislative, and also the judiciary arms of the government. Let the people of Rivers State come up and say, Nyesom Wike, we accuse you of so-so and so-so. Then the law will take it, because Nyesom Wike can be sued to the competent court of law. Let him be found guilty. If he's found guilty, the president has suspended minister in the past. There is a better Edo, the minister of humanitarian. She was suspended. It is Nigerian that you see that Nigerian current minister of humanitarian service, better Edo, was suspended. You can have the case of Natasha in the National Assembly. She was suspended. There was an allegation against the Senate President, which we are yet to see evidences of her allegation. So people that accuse Nyesom Wike have to come up with evidence to say this accusation against Nyesom Wike, he is found guilty, before we can convince, or the president will be convinced, that really Nyesom Wike is going beyond his political purview.
All right, so let's even move away from the issues around Nyesom Wike. Let's look at the issue of the bill by the National Assembly to ensure that every blogger in Nigeria must have an office, then regulate some of the things that people say on Facebook. What do you make of this law, which has passed its second reading as at yesterday in the National Assembly?
Yes, for that law that was being established and is going the legislative process, to me is a welcome idea, because all people that may intend to have a blog or to engage in social media and other forms of communication will be registered, fully registered. Their information will be well known. People should not just go online or use blog to say what they want to say. against government or against individual. People should take full responsibility of what they do and what they say on social media. So for me, it's a welcome idea if the law will pass the process of National Assembly, and it will also be assent by the President. Hopefully, it will be assent by the President of the Federation.
So you don't think that this is in any way trying to gauge information dissemination, which will be at variance to Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution, which gives every Nigerian the right to freedom of expression?
There are different ways of expressing your interest without unnecessary ways. You will see many of the youths in particular will go on social media and say some certain words that are not true, that are not correct. People talk without a good mannerism. People feel to say what they want to say.
But they don't owe you mannerism to speak. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the Constitution. It is a fundamental human right. The Magna Cartas of 1215 have given every country that signed the Magna Cartas of 1215, every country that signed the Treaty for the United Nations Organization. It's Chapter 4 of the Constitution is very explicitly clear about the fundamental human right. You're saying right now that people go online to speak, to write, and to talk without some form of mannerism, with some form of care, without being having a balanced reportage. Now, all of this, we have an agency that is in charge of regulating the social media space. So why are such accounts not being pulled down? Why are such accounts? We saw that happen with Twitter, where people were using the Twitter to do some things that were not part of Twitter's regulation. We saw that happen in the country. So why are we not having a conversation along this line? Why do we need a physical office for bloggers?
You see, freedom of speech is guaranteed by the Constitution to every Nigerian. But we are in a situation that for political reasons or for some reasons, people go online, thousands of Nigerians. If you can regulate it, maybe people from different states of Nigeria will go online to say all sorts of things. Not only an individual, not a group of, not individuals, but group of individuals. Every day in Nigeria, you wake up, you will see information that are not genuine. You will recall that there was information spread 2 days ago about the resident of the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, that the house was put ablaze, and in reality, it is not so. There is nothing of that nature. So, such information that people do spread online, particularly Nigerians, need to be regulated, and that is why this law is coming.
And we have regulation agencies. We have the NCC. We have the Nigerian Broadcast Commission. And we have other agencies that are saddled with responsibility of coordinating information dissemination in Nigeria. Now we're going to create another law for cyber. We have a cyber law. Now we're going for a data protection act that is to regulate some of those things. Don't you think that this multi-faceted laws that we have in the country right now will still implementation and we will, to a certain height, we will not be able to implement, to suffer implementation process? Don't you think so?
You know, it is well done saying that good two heads is better than one. When you have the agencies that are doing this and you now have another extra one, it's like introducing.
When the first one have not done what it's supposed to do.
It's like introducing and reinforcement. It is like a football team. You have a players that you have confidence in them that they can beat the opponent team, maybe 11 against 11, and you see that those players are actually doing well, but not sufficiently well. You can decide to substitute the players and bring in a new player. So what the legislators are trying to do is to bring a law that will serve as a reinforcement, to reinforce the existing law so that people will not go.
Lukman, we forgot that that's not means the fact that the first law has not failed. The agencies that were created for that purpose, for those laws, have not failed.
Yeah.
And nobody is being sanctioned. Nobody is being penalized. Nobody is nobody is even saying that at this point in time, due to XYZ, we're going to fire you. We're going to ask you to leave the office. Those laws have not failed. Those laws are still intact. The agencies are still intact. People get paid from those agencies. So why are we creating laws that have a duplicating roles in the country as it stands right now? Is it to punish the youth?
It's not to punish the youth. Let me give you an instance.
All right, please.
A global television is a communication institution, agency that disseminates information. It's basically about information, to give people information, to receive information, to disseminate information. But as a corporate entity, you cannot just disseminate information without making your findings to know how genuine these informations are. If you go against the provision of those laws to disseminate information that are not correct, the government or people will hold you responsible because you are a corporate entity. You have been registered. You have the laws that guides you. So also, global TV cannot stop any individual or organization from establishing their own TV stations for the purpose of disseminating that information. Rather, doing so will enable us to have more TV stations that will provide information to the Nigerian populace. So it is the same thing with a TVC, AIT, and other TV stations. Don't forget that Nigerian has Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, who also disseminate information. But it is not sufficient. Nigeria will not all rely on the NTA to have news. We have Global TV, which is doing very well. And also Global TV cannot stop any group of individual that may intend to set a TV station for purpose of information dissemination. So what this law is trying to do is that we are not stopping the existing law. But what we're trying to do is to come up with an reinforcement that will stop people from making ills where there are not information that are not correct. Stop disseminating information that are not correct, because information moves faster than bullets. You cannot send bullet from Abuja to Taraba or to Sokoto or to Kano. But information, as I am with you, what we are currently doing, the information we quickly get to Kano, we get to Lagos before a bullet gets to those areas. So information dissemination is something that is very important, that Nigerians need to know what to say, how to say, and what to say, particularly with this tension of insecurity in the country.
And these agencies are not doing it. I'm particular about the agencies. You know why I'm particular about the agencies?
Yes, as I rightly said, the agency are doing it, but
so,
we need more.
So we need more of the agencies.
No, we need more of laws.
Of the laws that we enforce. So Lukman, the laws that we have right now, have any of the agency complained that the law is not sufficient?
They are not complaining, but we think because of the...
Or the National Assembly think that it is not sufficient?
The National Assembly think because of the current situation in the country.
Which situation are we in the country?
People comes online to say what they feel, to say whether they are genuine or not genuine. They think because they have freedom of information, freedom of expression, so they can express themselves at any time, even with words that are unguided. So National Assembly think it would be better for us to establish a new law that will reinforce the existing law. So that is what National Assembly thinks.
So the laws that we have before now that have not been fully implemented by agencies of government, departments, ministries, and parastatals of government. So automatically those laws that have not been enforced, what's the guarantee that if the previous laws have not been enforced, that this one that the National Assembly is going to come up with is going to be enforced? Is there a guarantee for it?
We cannot give 100% guarantee.
So we're still going to expect more enforcement laws?
No, we will not expect more enforcement law until this existing one has come to being. When it's come to being, if there is a need for more enforcement law, we do. Circumstance should determine what we should do and what we should not do. Remember, yesterday this law was not brought for debate with National Assembly, but because of the current situation of the country, that is what necessitated the establishment of this law that is currently in the National Assembly. So our situations determines what we do day by day. If it guarantees or it enables us to create another law, if that will bring peace and security, stability in the country, then the National Assembly will do, and the President will assent to the law.
Okay, so in this case, if the law is being assented to, and the agencies that are supposed to be the spies on the internet to regulate activities within the internet space, and they're still not doing their job? Won't this bring us back to square one, which we are trying to avoid initially?
Yes, if this law has been assented by the president, there should be a conference of all the sisters agencies to come together and make a provisions, a headway on how to reinforce and take this to take their responsibility very seriously. Because as you rightly said earlier, if we're to be subjective, it's not that we don't have those agencies, those institutions, but at times there is not a strict compliance of those provisions. So those agencies must take responsibility of their duties. Why is this agencies being established? They need to be reminded, they need to be retrained, they need to be reoriented on their responsibility, that this is why these agencies are being established, and you must act according to the provisions of your establishment, to the provisions of the law. I think that will be another headway for us to have a better regulatory body.
I thought you would be recommending that at least directors and PAMSEC within those ministries are supposed to do some of the AYZ which they are being assigned to do, because they failed. They should rather step down, or should be redirected, or they should be posted out to other agents. I thought that would be a recommendation.
Let me give a little example, a small example. You see, the Nigerian police force, by the provision of the constitution, has all responsibility to protect lives and properties of all Nigerians. But there is still an establishment of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. There is also Nigerian Correctional Service. What I'm trying to say is that Nigerian police has a constitutional responsibility to discharge the duty which the NCDC may discharge, or the Nigerian Correctional Service may discharge, or the Nigerian Immigration may discharge. But because of the division of responsibility to have effective implementation of this provision, that is why the establishment of NCDC has come to be, the Correctional Service and other sisters agencies. If not by law, the Nigerian police has the right, the constitutional responsibility to discharge all these duties that other sisters agencies are discharging. Like the EFCC. FCC also have responsibility to discharge some duties that the ICPC are discharging today. But because of division of responsibility to ensure effective service delivery, that is the essence why this sisters agency has been established. So also, that is the reason why this law is also being discussed at the National Assembly, so that it will serve as a reinforcement to support other sisters agencies.
Even though, like you've mentioned, the EFCC, even though the EFCC have overlapping functions with the ICPC, we still have cases of fraud in the country.
Yes,
we still have cases of embezzlements in the country, financial inappropriation in the country. Those conversations are still there, even though we have EFCC. We still have cases of selected prosecution. We still have cases of alleged prosecution without trial, which we call media trials in the country. And we still have the EFCC, the ICPC, the police. Now, because their functions overlap. So I'm saying this to say that if the functions of a lot of these agencies overlap, is it not best that we marry some of these agencies together to have more robust outing than having a duplicated function and having low productivity, just like what we are having with this law right now? Why don't we merge it with already existing laws and amend those laws to accommodate these new provisions instead of coming out with new laws in the country? So for effective implementation, that's my concern for the development of Nigeria.
You may recall that the past administration of President Buhari intend to merge some of the ministries from 2 to be 1. Or maybe he has merged, like
Tinubu has done it. Tinubu came and did it. He meshed a lot of ministries together, taking out Ministry of Sport and also making the National Sport Commission.
And he also created
Ministry of Tourism,
Ministry of Livestock
development.
Development.
Yeah.
So the essence of creation of that livestock development ordinarily it should be under the Ministry of Agriculture. But the essence of creating is for them to also manage that line of livestock and development. So you cannot say that the establishment of Ministry of Livestock, it has nothing to add to the development of Nigerian as a nation. So also that law also, the National Assembly did not just come up with the law. There are reasons. The reason is for more reinforcement to ensure that the existing one continue to work while this new one also continue to work. So establishment of another law does not stop the existing law from being in existence. It doesn't stop it from working. The both can work together collectively. The rationale behind it is for us to have effective service and delivery, which I believe by the establishment of that law, if it is enacted into law, we'll have more effective service delivery, more effective regulations.
All right, let's move on to other conversation even this morning as we talk about the state of the nation. There is a very interesting conversation around the data capturing in the country right now. You said the EFCC, sorry, I said, beg your pardon, the NCC, which is the NIMC rather, the NIMC national ID card, your national management identification management commission, that's NIMC, and also we have the passport, Nigerian from immigration office, and all of this. Then we all of this to get your driving license, you do capturing. To get your national ID card, do capturing. To get your international passport, you go for capturing. To go to your bank to get your BVN, you must go and do capturing. And looking at all of this capturing syndrome in Nigeria, what do you make of this? Is it time for us as a people to start talking about a single data capturing system that can make our information dissemination to be more effective? Or what's your general take on this?
Yes, in that regard, as you earlier mentioned, we have different agencies, the NCC, the National Identity Management Commissions, Immigration, and so on. But it is important for Nigerians to realize that we need to have a unified central database, which will be called the National Unique Number. And instead of us to establish National Unique Number, we already have National Identity Number, the NIM. This unique number can be served as our bank account number, it can serve as our phone number, it can serve as our international passport number. What you need to do if you are using MTN line or Glo network, you just get a recharge card from that your network provider and recharge that your national identity number. Let it be a unique number that carries all information, that contains all information about individual. I think this will be a headway and to stop us from having a duplications of activities by different government agencies. The national identity number can serve as our bank account number. Even if you may like to have different account with different bank, there should be a way that it will serve as our bank number, it will serve as our BVN number, it will also serve as our phone number. So Nigeria needs to look inward to see a way that we can have a central unified database.
All right, so finally, before I let you go, this conversation in the country about Yeson Wike. Now we started with Wike, I will still end it with Wike. Revoking lands licenses in Abuja. We've seen that of NUC will be revoked, has already been revoked. That of NNPCL, that of INEC, that of PDP, and a lot of properties are being revoked. What do you make of the revocation so far? Is it a welcome development for the growth of the Federal Capital Territory?
Thank you very much. For me, the revocation of land has a process, and also for someone to acquire a land also has process, because the land, there is a Land Use Act, and also for you to have access to land, there is a ministry, there is an agency, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, who manage the land at the FCT, and it is under the purview of the Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister cannot just wake up a day and said we are revoking the land of a global TV or TVC or any of the government institution without having a legal backup. So for me, those institutions that they may revoke or that they are revoke their land, they should follow due process. They should ensure that there is a fully and duly documentation. The processes must be followed on how to acquire that land. We have about thousands of land in the Federal Capital Territory. Some of the lands are not revoked. It means that the due process was followed for them to acquire that land. So for those agencies that their land have been revoked, they should ask and know what is wrong and what it is. And if they found that the information acquired, the land document is genuine, they can decide to sue the Federal Capital Territory administration, because it is not Nissim Wiki that is revoking the land, it is the FCT administration. So they have the right to sue the FCT administration for revoking their land. And at the first instance, the FCT administration are the one issuing this document. So are they the one, are due process been followed? If due process is being followed, then there is no reason for FCT administration to revoke this plot of lands.
Interesting way to say. Thank you so much, Abdulkadir Lukman, for finding our time to be with us even on Global Morning today.
It's a pleasure.
And I hope when next we need you, be available for us.
By God's grace.
All right. Well, this is how far we can go today on Global Morning here at Global Television. Remember that you can join the conversation on our social media handle displayed on the screen right now using at Global TV NG to be part of the conversation. And you can also download the Global TV mobile app on Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are